Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgia. I hope you're well. Welcome to this week's reading vlog. I feel like I've been putting off making one of these videos for like the longest time because I'm scared. And that's because I'm going to be reading books that I've been avoiding. Now, because I've been avoiding them, it means that I don't really have the highest expectations for them, and therefore I'm scared I'm going to put myself in a reading slump. But we're going to do it anyway. I have so many books on my TBR that I feel like I've just been avoiding and putting off and putting off and putting off. And it's time we just read them. I have some books that I have in mind that I would like to pick up in this video that are ones that have been on my TBR for a very long time, or I've read book one, weren't obsessed with it, but want to sort of continue on with the series and see how I feel about it, that sort of vibe. But I have chosen the first book that I would like to pick up in this video, and that is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, I have this on my TBR for the month of August, and like, when I decided on this book and I read the back, I was actually like, do you know what? That does sound like a lot of fun. Because this has been on my TBR for, it must be nearing on 3 years at this point. I bought this series as a box set ages ago. I used to only strictly read like these sort of mystery, thriller, crime, detective-y, FBI, PI type stories. It used to be all I read before I got into sort of like romance and fantasy and things. And then I just sort of like stopped reading them and then never sort of went back. And now whenever I pick up a sort of mystery thriller book, I hate it and I don't enjoy it. So I have medium expectations for this one. I don't have high expectations in that like I don't love a mystery thriller anymore, but equally I've read the back and it does sound really, really fun. So I am actually quite looking forward to getting into this one, and I do have, like I said, medium expectations for what I think I'll feel on this one. So I'll just read you at the back. So cold cases are about to get hot. Cassie is a natural at reading people. Piecing together the tiniest details, she can tell you who you are and what you want. But it's not a skill that she's ever taken seriously, until the FBI come knocking. They've begun a classified program that uses exceptional teenagers to crack infamous cold cases, and they need Cassie. What Cassie doesn't realise is that there's more at risk than a few unsolved murders, especially when she's sent to live with a group of teens whose gifts are as unusual as her own. Soon it becomes clear that no one in the Naturals program is what they seem, and when a new killer strikes, danger looms close. Caught in a lethal game of cat and mouse with a killer, the Naturals are going to have to use all of their gifts just to survive. So I do actually really like the sound of this one. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously it's YA. I don't usually love YA mystery thrillers either. I feel like I'm definitely more of like a upper adult when it comes to mystery thrillers, because I feel like there's just usually more drama and more sort of like gore in there. I am looking forward to giving this one a go. I do think it's going to be fun. I do think that having the sort of like natural gifts in there is going to be a really interesting take. And I've never read anything by this author before, so I'm really hoping that I like her writing style. So I'm going to stop chatting away and I'm going to go and sit and start this book, because I'm actually quite excited about this one. Let's go. So I'm here with a bit of a midway check-in for The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and do you know what? I am enjoying this so much more than I expected. So I'm currently on chapter 22, which is about halfway, and I'm loving this. I'm enjoying this a lot more than I thought. So I think I've sort of decided that my issue isn't with mystery thrillers. It's just I prefer like the detective ones. So like I want to be part of the FBI, the police, or whoever's sort of investigating these mystery thrillers. Like when I used to strictly read mystery thriller, a lot of it was like the Women's Murder Club books by James Patterson and that sort of vibe where you are following the detectives solving all these cases, and I just think that that is definitely more my thing. So in this book we are following Cassie. Now Cassie is a 17-year-old girl and her mum was recently murdered. She comes home, she goes into her mum's dressing room and it's just covered in blood, looks as though she's been stabbed, but there's no body. And the police can't figure out what happened, so her mum's case has now become a bit of a cold case. Cassie has this sort of natural ability to read people, so she can take the smallest bit of information and then sort of build your life based on that little bit of knowledge. And in this one she has been picked up by the FBI. Now the FBI want to basically bring her in to help be sort of like a profiler on cold cases. She's basically becoming part of this group known as the Naturals. So she's been brought into this house, this sort of like shared accommodation, and there is a group of sort of like teens and young adults who are all basically there to help solve these cold cases. So like they don't all have the same gifts, but they all have some sort of gift. They're known and are being like called the Naturals as a group. I really like seeing sort of her come into this group and trying to figure out who everybody is, and she's basically profiling all the people that she's living with, but they're also training her in how to do this in terms of being like an FBI and solving things like murders and serial killers and all that sort of thing. At the minute they are just sort of training her up. She's not been given any official cold cases, she's just sort of reviewing solved ones to see how they work. We've met some potential love interests. There's currently like sort of two guys that are sort of a bit of to and fro with. But it's also really interesting just sort of seeing her come into this group and try and figure out where she fits. There's definitely some opinions about her being there and a bit of drama within the house. So like it's really fun to sort of see that teenage dynamic drama alongside all of these really brutal like serial killer cases and things. And in this one we're actually sort of in Cassie's head, so it's really interesting to see sort of like how her mind works and watching her go into these files, read this information about these people and basically be able to picture out the play-by-play of who they are, how they did it, why they did it, and sort of seeing how her mind actually works to get from point A to point B. Like I absolutely love it. I find it so interesting. Where I've stopped at the minute, they've actually managed to get their hands on some material for like a current case, so I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing where this one goes. But yeah, I'm having the most fun with this one. It is so entertaining. I think it's so intriguing to sort of be in Cassie's mind as she's working on these cases. So this is pretty much all from Cassie's POV. We've got one POV, it's first person, we are Cassie. But there's also these sort of chapters from you. And like it's not being very clear what that is or who that is that we're following at the moment, but I've got some predictions. And I think that we are going to be, without giving you many spoilers, I think we're sort of in the serial killer's mind. I've not enjoyed a mystery thriller like this in a very long time. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I can see why this has the ratings that it has. Obviously I'm only halfway in, it still has plenty of opportunity to disappoint. Maybe I'm now building it up so much in my head because of how much I've enjoyed the first half and because I've seen the ratings, but I'm hoping that this continues to sort of keep me hooked, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else this series has to offer. All in all, so far I'm really enjoying this. It's definitely hooked me in and kept me hooked for a lot more than I expected it to, so I'm taking that as a win. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to go and sit on the sofa and I'm going to jump straight back in, and I will come back to you at some point soon with my final thoughts and feelings on this one. But so far, very strong feelings, really enjoying it. Let's go read. Me and Freya have just had a cuddle and now I'm covered in cat fur. Last night I finished The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and do you know what? I enjoyed this book so much more than I expected to. I was really caught off guard by the sort of like the twist in this one and the ending of this book. Like I had predictions on where I think it was going, and I think the book was sort of designed to lead you in those directions, and then it took this massive turn and it just wasn't at all what I was actually expecting. I enjoyed this one a lot more than I initially expected to. Obviously it is a book that I've been putting off for a very long time. I think I'm going to settle on a 4-star rating. I don't usually like YA, but I actually really enjoyed it in this book. I enjoyed the sort of relationships that happen in here. I enjoyed the drama and the hit and miss friendships and things like that, and I like where the romance sort of left off in this one as well. I'm looking forward to continuing on with the series and getting to know these characters a bit more, because I feel like I'm getting attached already, which I feel is a very good sign. I definitely enjoyed the direction. I enjoyed what the mystery in this one was and how it all connected with what she was doing and with her sort of like story. I really enjoyed that element of it. So all in all, a very successful first book, and a book that I wish I had just picked up rather than putting off for as long as I have. So first book for today then, The Naturals. We do have a 4-star read. So it's now time to pick my next one. And I do think I've decided on what I want to read, and it is also on my TBR for this month anyway, and that is The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer. So this is book 2 in the Queen's Cove series by this author. It's like a series of interconnected standalones. I think the 4 books are following the 4 different Rose brothers. I read book 1 last year, possibly even the year before, and I didn't love it. I rated it 3 stars at the time. It was fun, it was enjoyable, it was flirty, it was cute, but I wasn't like, that was amazing. So I had sort of my doubts in going into book 2, and I don't have high expectations going into this, and I do think I've decided that if I don't love this book, I am going to DNF the whole series. I'm going to give this one a go. I feel like when I was reading these of the 4 brothers, I thought this one was the one I was most sort of interested in. So this one then, it just says, a hot commitment phobe surfer is the only one I can turn to. In my small town bookstore, I'm surrounded by book boyfriends, but I've never had a real one. At almost 30, I've never been in love, and my bookstore isn't breaking even. Something needs to change, and I know exactly who's going to help me. Wyatt Rhodes, the guy everyone wants. He agrees to be my relationship coach, but his lessons aren't what I expected. Between surfing, mortifying dates, and revamping my store, his lessons are more about drawing me out of my shell than changing me into someone new. But when we add praise-filled splice lessons into the curriculum, it's clear he wants me. He's leaving town and I'm staying to run my store, so it can't work, but that doesn't seem to matter to him. He's supposed to be finding me someone to fall for, but instead we're falling for each other. So again, reading the back of that, it sounds like it could be fun. I've never really read like a relationship coach trope, I don't think I have anyway. So I'm intrigued to see sort of like what I feel and how I feel about that sort of setup. I've obviously read like Fake Dating, and I've read the Inexperienced sort of situation. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be 30. I think that Wyatt Rhodes is probably going to be my favourite of the brothers. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued. So I guess now's the time to see if we will be continuing on with the series or if we are DNFing it. Let's go. Hello. I am back with a halfway check-in on The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer, and I am about halfway. I'm just before halfway. I'm on chapter 15, so I'm on page 160. I feel like there was a lot riding on this book. This book was basically going to be my decider on whether I DNF the whole series or not. I'm here to report that I'm actually really enjoying this. I think both Hannah and Wyatt are such fun characters. So we're following Hannah, who is a very quiet, very sort of like shy bookworm. She is always in her bookshop. So her mum opened a bookstore and then sadly passed away, and she's trying to sort of like carry on her mum's legacy. Her dad owns the shop and has a very sort of like strict way on how he wants to run it and how he wants to keep it now that her mum's passed away, and Hannah has all these like amazing ideas on how to make this bookshop profitable again, because it is sort of like running into the ground a little bit because it's just so old-fashioned now. And then we also have Wyatt, who is this just complete free spirit. Like, he is a ladies man, he is trying to be a pro surfer, he is living his best life. So we have these two sort of like polar opposites. Hannah is basically asking Wyatt to teach her how to be a hot girl. Like, he has lots of experience with hot girls, he has lots of experience with like these very confident women, and she wants to be more like that. She's nearly 30 and she's so scared that she's going to go into her 30s single, hiding in her bookshop and just not really living life. So in exchange for sort of like Wyatt teaching her how to be this hot confident girl, she is basically going to run his social media account. He is trying to become a pro surfer, so he wants to get sort of like sponsorship so he can do this full time. He owns like a surfing shop, but he wants to become a pro surfer. So they've got this sort of deal. I'm really enjoying the sort of like tension that we've got so far. We are, like I said, just before the sort of halfway mark, and the tension is definitely building. It's getting more and more intense and I am loving it. I'm so here for it. And I also just love Hannah as a character. Like, she's so shy and she's trying so hard to do things out of her comfort zone, and she's really pushing herself, and I just love that development for her. And I really like what Wyatt's doing, because as much as he is giving the impression that she's turning her into this like hot girl, he's actually just bringing her out of her shell. And I really like that. Like, he's not actually trying to change her or make her into something she's not. He's just helping her find herself, which is so sweet. Like, she literally like goes to bed, goes to the bookshop, that is her life. She doesn't do anything, she doesn't make any new friends, she doesn't try anything new, and I really like that he's just sort of bringing her out of her shell. I'm enjoying the surfing side of it. Surfing is something I would really like to try, but I'm also like kind of terrified of the ocean. So, and I've also got no strength, like no body strength at all. And I'm really enjoying this. I like the nicknames, I like the banter, I like their friendship, I like their tension. I'm having a really fun time, and this has definitely caught me off guard. I can sort of guess where we're heading and what direction it's going in, but I don't hate that idea either. So all in all, I'm actually really enjoying this one. I'm gonna go and sit on the sofa and read a little bit more of this today. I'm definitely having a fun time, so let's go continue reading. All in all, so far so good. Let's go. So I'm back with some big updates. So last night I finished The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer, and you know what? I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I enjoyed this so much more than I think I expected to. I really enjoyed this one. I really liked how their relationship sort of developed. I think it was really lovely to see somebody who like wanted to make some self-improvements, wanted to, like, she phrased it as she wanted to become a hot girl, and Wyatt's way of teaching her how to become a hot girl was actually just bringing her out of her shell. And it was so lovely to see her try all these new things, to be brave, to step out of her comfort zone, and to sort of like just become this more confident version of her. Hannah is such a sweet character. Like, she really is, to me, like the definition of a true bookworm. Like, she just wants to be in her bookstore, she just wants to stay in her world of books, escape into a good romance, and like I could just relate to Hannah on so many levels. And it was just so lovely to see her want to have more and want to be more. Like, it was really nice to see her standing up for what she believes in, and to make the improvements in sort of these areas of life that she feels stuck. And it was so great. It was just so lovely to see. And I also really like Wyatt. Like, I feel like as much as he is your stereotypical playboy type guy, he's actually just so lovely, and he really wanted to help her, and he really wanted to like watch her become her true self. And it was just, they're just so sweet. I really liked them as a couple. I really liked their sort of like their conflict and their ending. I I liked how that sort of played out. I liked that even during this heartbreak and this time, he's still like pushing her to do what's best for her, and I really like that. As much as it sort of comes across as him being a little bit selfish, he really isn't, and he's just sort of still pushing her to be a better version of her, and like I just think that was really sweet. I liked how it was also resolved. I think it was really lovely, and all the things that were happening with her dad and her business, and I really liked how it all sort of came together and rounded off, and it was just so lovely. I feel like I got quite lost in this book. Like, she's literally living the dream. Like, she owns her own bookstore, she's making it hers, and I loved it. I just had a really fun time. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot more than I think I expected to. I have rated this a 4 on Goodreads. On Fable, I do think I've marked it as a 3.75. I'm probably going to change that to a 4. The more I think about it and the more I've sort of like sat and stewed with it, I do think I'm going to increase that to a 4-star rating. I did enjoy this. It was, to me, like a perfect summery read as well. Like, they're surfing all the time, they're constantly out on the open water, and it was just a really fun summery vibe. So I actually really enjoyed this. I will now be continuing on with this series because I've definitely been putting this off for far too long now. And it was last year. It was February 2025. So, you know, I've put this off for like nearly a year and a half, and I'm glad I finally picked it up. This is the thing, you can't just read one book by one author and decide that they're not for you. Like, I read the first book in this series and just automatically sort of went, yeah, she's not for me. But like, I've read the second book and I've absolutely devoured it and I've loved it, and I literally read this in 2 days. Like, I had the most fun with this one, and now I'm definitely excited to continue on with this series. I do think we're going to get Holden's book next. We've got Holden and Finn to go, and we've had sort of like a bit more about their characters in this book as well, especially Holden. We've sort of got to know Holden a little bit here, so I'm intrigued to see what his story's like and sort of his pairing. I'm looking forward to giving that one a go. I really enjoyed this one. 4 stars, happy with it, really fun, really entertaining, fun tropes, good spicy scenes. I liked the sort of spice coach element and him sort of like teaching her lessons on all things spice, and I just thought it was really fun, and I really liked how that was done. So all in all, a really enjoyable time. I'm going to settle on a 4-star rating for this one. When I finished this one last night, I wasn't quite done reading, so I have already picked up my next book and started it, and this next book is something that I kept saying I'm gonna read it in the autumn months. I'll read it in the autumn months. I'll read it in the autumn months, and I'm doing that because I'm putting it off. I don't want to read it, I don't think, and I don't know why. And that is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I read Bride in September of 2025, and I rated it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I did read it during the 24-hour readathon, so I don't know if that just sort of took me out of the story a little bit. But yeah, I didn't love Bride. I enjoyed it. I've read some of the books by Ali Hazelwood and really enjoyed it, so I do like the writing style and things. I just weren't obsessed with the sort of story we had there. So if you've not read Bride basically focuses on like the political side of vampires and werewolves and like the political standpoints of it all for a good like chunk of it. Our main female character is a vampire, our main male character is a werewolf. She is basically the vampire collateral, so she lives in the werewolf sort of territory, and she's basically used so that if the vampires do anything, they've got that collateral damage and can kill her. It's sort of the setup, and it's them sort of doing life. Anyway, this one follows Misery's best friend Serena. So we do know Serena from book 1, and she has sort of like a big development right at the end of that book. I feel like I probably should have gone back and read the epilogue for Bride before jumping into this one, but I do feel like I know and can remember enough of it. But I'm not going into this one with the highest expectations either. So obviously the last book I went into with low expectations and actually really enjoyed, and the same with The Naturals. I went in not expecting to love it and really enjoyed it. So I feel like I'm on a good streak, and I'm hoping that this continues on that good streak. So just to read you at the back then. So Serena Paris is orphaned, packless and one of a kind. Coming forward as the first human-were hybrid was supposed to heal a century-long rift between species. Instead, it's made her a target, prey to the ruthless political machinations between wares, vampires and humans. With her enemies closing in on her, she has only one option left, if he'll have her. I am so tired, I cannot read out loud today. As alpha of the Northwest Pack, Cohen Alexander commands obedience. His authority is so absolute, only a fool would threaten his mate. It doesn't matter if Serena doesn't reciprocate his feelings, nothing will stop him from keeping her safe. But power-hungry vampires and wares are not the only threat chasing Serena. Sooner or later, her past is bound to catch up with her, and Cohen might be the only thing standing between her and total annihilation. So I am intrigued by this one. I like Serena as a character. I think she's really funny and sarky. So I think there's going to be some really good banter in this one. But like I said previously, I'm just not sort of like expecting mind-blowing things with me only having rated book 1 3 stars. And like I always say, 3 star isn't a bad rating, it's sort of like an average rating for me. Wasn't obsessed, so we will see how we feel towards this one. Like I said, I have started it already. I'm on chapter 4. I'm literally like, what, maybe 5% into this book. I just read a couple of chapters before bed, so I'm hoping to get a good chunk of this read today. I do have a lot of other bits and bobs that I need to do, lots of editing and things. I'm hoping to get some reading done as well. So I do have this on audio on BookBeat as well, so I might do a little bit of audio whilst doing sort of bits and bobs around the house today. I definitely have some housework to do as well, so I'll probably do a mix of physically reading and audio in this one. But our final book for this video, we are going to read Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Let's go. So I am on chapter 22 of Mate by Ali Hazelwood, which is page 234, so I'm about halfway through this one now. Again, feel like I have been pleasantly surprised by this book. I feel like that's been a very common theme throughout this video. I feel like this one took me a while to get going with it. It took me a while to get into it and to get like sort of hooked into the characters and things, but I feel like I'm definitely getting sort of like attached now and starting to actually care about the characters and care about their relationship, and I'm finding it really interesting to sort of see how it all works. In this one we're following Cohen and Serena. It is all from Serena's perspective. I have been listening to this a bit on audio, and the audio is duet narration, which I'm really enjoying. I feel like that's definitely increasing it for me, even though the only sort of things we get from his perspective are the little parts at the beginning of the chapter and then his speech. But I'm definitely enjoying having that duet narration. I think it makes such a big difference when you're listening to any audiobook. It really does make a difference when the lads are actually reading their part and the girls are reading their part. I just feel like it just makes for a much better reading experience. So following Serena and Cohen. Now Serena is a hybrid. We meet her in book 1 of this series. Well, we meet both characters in book 1 anyway. So she is Misery from book 1's best friend. She is a hybrid human were. And then we have Cohen, who is the leader of one of the packs in the sort of like territories and stuff that they have. So, and we also have sort of like a fated mates situation, but neither of them are sort of accepting that mated bond, and we're following them as they sort of try and uncover and saw and protect all the things that happen in book 1. So I can't really tell you much about the happenings of this one because a lot of it does sort of carry on from the end of book 1 and the drama at the end of book 1, so I don't want to give you spoilers for that, so I'm not going to tell you much about sort of the happenings for this, but I'm really enjoying the sort of like development of their relationship. There's a lot of things going on with Serena that she doesn't want to talk about. She doesn't want to burden people with the issues that she's having, and I'm at the point now where he's sort of uncovered what they are, and I really, really like that side of it. I enjoy the sort of like caretaker side of things and them sort of looking after each other and him like really stepping up to be there and protect her. I like the rules that they have in terms of their mating bond and how much they can accept it, and from his side of things, and I'm really looking forward to seeing sort of like how that unravels, because I'm assuming that it's going to. Again, I know this makes no sense if you've not read this book, but I don't want to give you guys any spoilers. I just think that the development of their relationship this far has actually been really lovely to read, and I really like the sort of banter that we've got. They both have such sort of like dry humour, and they just have the most like unique banter, and I really, really like that. I think it's really fun to see them sort of go from, they're never really particularly enemies, but they're definitely not on the same wavelength, and they have very different opinions on a lot of things, and I think it's just really nice to sort of see how they sort of go about their differences and things. So I am enjoying this one more than I expected. I'm intrigued to see sort of how the spice works in this one, because book 1 was pretty spicy. I think we're going to have a similar level of spice in this one, but I don't know how we're going to get there yet with everything else that's going on. But I'm really, really looking forward to seeing sort of how this book plays out, because there's so much at play at the moment and so many things that they're trying to fix and avoid and prevent. So I'm really looking forward to seeing sort of how that all pans out. So I'm aware that this has been a very vague check-in. Pretty much anything I tell you in this book will ruin the happenings of book 1, so I can't really give you much on this, but if you'll have read it, I hope the things I've said have made any sort of sense. So yeah, very vague, very random check-in for those of you who haven't read this book, but I am definitely enjoying it so far. I am sort of invested in their story now, so I do want to read a couple of chapters at least tonight, and then I will be back to you later on with my final thoughts and feelings on this one. But definitely enjoying it more than I expected to, and more than I did book 1. So let's go and read. We're going to ignore the state. It's currently like 30 degrees in the UK, and I've been sat in the garden reading all day. But last night I finished Mate by Ali Hazelwood, so I just thought I'd come and give you my final sort of thoughts and feelings on this one. I actually ended up really, really enjoying this one. So I think I definitely prefer this one to Bride. This one, for me, I was just more connected to the characters. I was more interested in the actual storyline. and I actually ended up really enjoying this, which I was quite pleasantly surprised by. Again, very common theme in this video. I really enjoyed sort of the story we took with this one. I feel like book one I wasn't really invested in the actual storyline, but with this one I'm definitely a lot more invested. There's a lot of issues between sort of like the human and the wares, and they thought that the hybrid would be sort of like a bonding point for that and would show that like they can live amongst each other and that this is actually okay and they don't all have to hate each other, and that just kind of isn't the case. I think that there's a lot of interesting sort of takes in this one as well. We've got like this weird cult that they're sort of dealing with, and there's just like quite a few really interesting plot lines in this. I really liked the illness caretaker part that we had and how that all came to be and how that sort of settled. And I also really liked the whole like mate side of it and everything that came with that. The spice in this one was incredible, and I really liked sort of how we got there as well. I know a lot of people were sort of put off by the spice in this book, but equally like I like that they've brought a bit more of like the wear side into it, to be honest. I think it makes for a very strange but interesting addition. I really enjoyed this book all in all. I think I'm going to settle on a 3.75 for this one. So I'll probably rate it as a 4 on Goodreads, but on Fable and things like that and in my wrap-ups and things I am going to settle on a 3.75. I enjoyed this one more than I expected to, and I enjoyed it more than I did Bride. So there we have it. I feel like we've had a very successful reading week. Like I wasn't expecting to enjoy any of these books, and I've had 2 4s and a 3.75. Like I definitely feel it has been a successful reading week. Like I'm very pleasantly surprised by how much I've enjoyed the books that we've read together in this video. If this isn't your sign to pick up those books that you've been avoiding, then honestly I don't know what is. I have been putting off each of these books for more than a year, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. Like this is definitely a sign to just crack on with those books you've been avoiding, because I mean it worked out nicely in my favour today. So I definitely recommend giving it a go yourself and just picking up that book that you've been putting off for the longest time. Just get it read. It might pleasantly surprise you, or you might hate it, in which case DNF it. Life's too short to read books you don't enjoy. But give them a go. Just give them a go anyway. That is everything for today's video then. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my social media, my Amazon, my Goodreads, my business email and my Fable are all in the description bar below. I really hope you guys are well, and thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.